Welcome, everyone. This is Victoria. We are so excited to have you here for our first kickoff meeting. So we'll start right off with introduction. If you can please.
Good morning, everyone. We are so excited to have you here with us. We've been working with an incredible team here at Making Sense and the Global Knowledge Initiative to get this going. And certainly Cole, Katie, Maria, and also Jesse and Judith. So we wanted to just make sure you know there's a wonderful team helping us and all of you to be a part of this. So we wanted to just introduce ourselves. My name is Bonnie Politz. I'm here in Washington, D.C. I am a native Washingtonian, grew up here, went to school here, lived other places, but I keep coming back. I am the youngest child in my family, even though I am now a little bit older, always considered the baby. Those of you who are in that position probably know what I mean. And I live in a beautiful city and do a lot of walking and hiking, love swimming and yoga, and try and keep myself busy, especially during the pandemic. So this is a little bit about me, and now we'll hear from Victoria.
And I am Victoria. I am the COP Youth Advisor. And I don't think Bonnie mentioned that she's the COP champion for the Youth System Strengthening Community of Practice. A little bit about me, I am passionate about creative art in all its forms, whether that be going to the museum or art gallery or visiting historical sites or listening to music or poetry. I'm also originally from Nigeria, and I have family back in Nigeria and also in the United Kingdom. I would describe myself as a cultural immersion traveler. I love traveling to see new places and to get to experience new cultures. I think that it's amazing when you travel and you get to meet people and experience their culture. That for me is fun because it helps you know people beyond the primary level of differences and get to know them, what makes them who they are, their values, what makes them, unique. And that's a little bit about me. So I will pass on to Bunny to introduce the goals for the COP.
Yes, I am the youth champion, but doing this very much in partnership with Victoria, who I'm so excited to get to know and learn more about. She's doing some work that you'll hear about over the course of the COP that's very related to system strengthening and systems change. So we have some goals for the kickoff today about introducing us, providing an introduction to the network and its features. We want to establish a foundation about how we really work together in this network for youth system strengthening. Want to gather some inputs to design a framework and brainstorm some ideas for the learning agenda. So we will have some time where you're going to get into some smaller breakout groups and we can get to hear back from you directly as we think about the next several months and the agenda and what's important to you, that we can really build together. So next. So we wanted to just give a little background on YouthPower. So YouthPower actually is in its second phase. The first one was from 2015 to 2020, and YouthPower 2 is from 2020 to 2025. And it started off, it's a funding mechanism under USAID, the U.S. Agency for International Development, focused on really trying to bring up what we know about implementation, research, evaluations, and getting people engaged in what is positive youth development and how to think that becomes embedded in all the work we're doing. YouthPower 2 is also focused on that, but also a lot about learning and evaluation to generate more evidence, knowledge, and also connections among people through these communities of practice. So there are two aspects. There's youthpower.org, which is a platform, which we think you're all connected to already, hopefully, as you're going to come and join the COPs. And it's implementers of youth programs, policymakers, youth serving organizations, youth-led organizations. We really hope it's a very diverse group that we get to learn from together. And then also the youthlead.org, which is really a platform for young change makers, which is very exciting to see for those of us who are on one end of our career to see who's coming and really going to help make a lot of the changes that we know we need in our world in a positive way. So next. So what is positive youth development? Well, this is sort of a question that for some of you who know me who are in the audience, this is something I've been working on since like the early 1990s. When I began work with a woman by the name of Karen Pittman, who started the Center for Youth Development and Policy Research. And we really talked about a paradigm shift because a lot of what we were doing about youth was focused on youth who have problems and how we were going to fix them. And we said, if we looked at things that were really working for young people, it seemed as though there was a different way of doing this, is that those programs and practices that were successful were really intentionally focusing on what young people need, the connections, the relationships that we know, but we didn't have a strong research and evidence base about that. So over the last 20 to 30 years, this has grown considerably to where we really now have a very strong research and evidence base about positive youth development, and that we can say that by focusing on what young people need and bringing those all together, that we really could see over time a reduction in the negative outcomes that we've seen over time for youth. And so this is an exciting opportunity for this particular community of practice focusing on systems to see what we've really been learning about that. So we want to focus on assets, we want to focus on agency and the contribution of young people themselves, and the enabling environment that includes policymakers, adult allies, and so many others who we need to make sure that the systems change. And there's a lot of information about positive youth development on the YouthPower site, and the link is there. Next. So while we're looking at sort of the evidence base and building stakeholder engagement and knowledge, that a lot of time comes into building very high quality and sustainable youth programs. What we want to also focus on in this community of practice is how are we achieving and advancing the systems change. While we might have, for example, a wonderful health program that embodies everything we know about evidence and the engagement and the application and the knowledge of positive youth development, we may not have changed the policies and the practices and the legislation and the financing systems that allow that to grow from a very successful program into actually how the system changes, whether that be the education system, the health system, and we'll talk a little bit about that. So we're really having this exciting opportunity to focus on sustainable systems change. And we have some guiding principles for all of the work that we're going to be doing together in the community of practice about connections and engagement, about really creating and curating resources. So we need to hear from you because you're out there in so many different spaces and you're involved in what could be very significant systems change efforts. And so we may know some, but you may know a lot more, and we've got to bring that into that. We want to weave inclusion into the fabric. Make sure that we're focusing on agility and empowering champions to facilitate that. All of you will be, champions out in your communities and your countries to help move this forward.
Thank you, Bunny. That was very informative, and I could listen to you on and on. So right now, we would like to hear from you. We want to know what your thoughts are when you hear the word, or when you think about the word systems. What one word comes to mind? And I want to use my own background as an example. So I work with a youth-led, community-based organization called One African Child. And for the past 6 to 7 years, I've been working at the intersection of education and meaningful youth engagement. My experience has taught me that the needs of young people are unique, they are complex and multidimensional. So when we think about what Bonnie said earlier about agency, assets, and contribution of young people, and we connect that to the word systems, what word comes to mind?
This is great.
I already see some responses on the screen. I see structure, facilitation, trust, multidisciplinary, partnership, inclusion. Let's keep it going. And did you want to say something, Bunny?
No, I just love this. We, just tried to think of some ways we could get people engaged. And this is, a great way to see it and to see structure and interconnection and process sort of coming up as sort of some of the words. Those are some of the huge challenges we've got in thinking about systems change.
Absolutely. I also see connection. I see long term. I see stories, gaps. Interesting. Let's keep it going. And you can, submit more than one response.
Yes. I saw there was, where was the word? My goodness, they just keep popping up. But beliefs and behaviors and long term, we all have to know that it's taken a long time to get our systems to where they are today, and they may not be functioning in the most efficient and the best way we know to reach the kind of outcomes we want for young people. It's not going to happen overnight to change them. And so it's going to take really sort of a multi-generational and a long-term commitment. But we also need to be strategic and know that there are certain moments in time, and we may be in one of them post, COVID, to really push a lot of the things that we've been thinking about for a long time. So this is great.
This is great. Thank you all for sharing.
And we will put this up on the site. Once we get this is all done, we'll be driving you to the site so we can have more discussions and begin to think about our work together. But this is great.
Absolutely. Maybe we can move on to the next. Thanks.
Yes. Okay, so we wanted to talk a little bit just about sort of youth systems and the background. And so we're going to move into a few slides before we get into our breakout groups. So next. So we wanted to just, even though this is the beginning, and we wanted to put something out about what we feel youth system strengthening is. When we get to the end of the community of practice months and months from now, this may look a little bit different based on all of your input. But it is about, and I think the first major word is intentionality. And I spoke about it a little bit earlier, that we do have wonderful programs out here that you all are working on around the globe, and that USAID and DFID and the European Union and so many other funders are, helping us with out there. But we want to try and lift up the kinds of policies, practices, legislative agendas, budget reforms that are going to really make the difference, so that what we're talking about is not just reaching 100 or 200 or even 3,000 young people, but once we know that things are working well, and it's based on solid research and evidence, that they can be reformed and scaled and sustained over time. And we also just wanted to make sure that everybody knows this isn't just about one system, and it isn't also just about one system by itself. Young people are whole human beings, and all of these things, education, health, workforce development, we hope not criminal justice, but it is an issue that we have to really think about, transportation and other things that you'll help us think about. These are systems that are in place that have, they have constituencies, they have people who fight for them, they have people who don't like certain things and try and change them. So we have a lot of different audiences we have to engage with to really get to the place where we see the kind of change that is going to be impacting young people way into the future based on the good things we know about positive youth development. So next. So this particular community of practice, we really want to learn together with you. We do have some things we can put out there, but believe me, we know it's just the tip of the iceberg about the what's, the whys, and the hows of system change that both young leaders and allies can work on across all of the youth-related work that we do. Next. And this is about really an underlying principle is that we want this to be about cross-generational engagement, providing a space where we can listen to each other, we can ask questions, we can share our successes and our failures, because I'd certainly say over my career, I've learned a lot more from my failures, learned a lot from my successes, but I learned a lot from what things that didn't work and trying to figure out why and how we can really be much more strategic about moving forward from what we did not do well. And we want to make sure all of this comes out with some clear action steps and outcomes that people can be using, back in the work that you're doing around the world. Next.
Thanks, Bunny. Bunny and I have been presenting now about what the COP is all about, but we really want this community of practice to be shaped by your ideas, your interests, and your suggestions. And we want it to be interactive as well. We want to hear from all of you. Right now, we'll go into breakout rooms, and we want you to discuss for the next couple of minutes what excites you about joining this network, and what do you hope to learn or contribute to systems change? What excites you about joining the Youth Systems Strengthening Network, and what do you hope to learn or contribute to youth systems change? While in your group as well, I want you to appoint someone who can come back to present within 30 seconds to 1 minute to the entire group. So think of someone, a note taker who can present. We also want to gather all of your wonderful thoughts and ideas. So we have a link to a Padlet where you can also drop your thoughts and comments as they come to you. Cole will share that link, and Cole will also move us into breakout rooms right about now.
Yes, and you will get notice when it's, probably halfway through, and then when you have, before there's a minute left to come back.
Thanks, Bunny.
Great. So I'm going to open the rooms now. So please just accept on your screen to go into the breakout rooms.
Cole, can I just say one more thing, just to make sure that you take time. This is our time to get to know each other a little bit. So please make sure you go around the group and introduce yourselves.
Yes, thank you, Bonnie. All right, I'm opening the rooms now. All right, welcome back.
So we had a great discussion in our group. We're going to ask each group to just give a very, top line, 1 minute, any reaction to both of the questions. And we'll have other opportunities through the Padlet for you to put in some more information. So Audrey, I'm going to ask you to come on first from our group, and then other people could volunteer and come on. Audrey.
Sorry, Bonnie, I couldn't find my unmute button.
Okay.
So one of the things that we discussed, there were a number of things.
Could you introduce yourself first?
Of course. I'm Audrey Moore. I'm a senior researcher at Mathematica, and I'm also the research technical lead for Task 1 under the YouthPower YP2LE Learning and Evaluation project. So the system stuff that we're doing right now is taking place is really important because it's a very core theme under positive youth development. So some of the things that we talked about in our breakout room is how we're all really excited to learn from one another, learn more about what's happening in the field, what kinds of work people are doing around systems, to learn more about how projects are using a systems approach to implement and do youth programming. So that was kind of the main things that we were excited about. And then in terms of what we can contribute and what we want to learn, we talked a little bit about some of the systems resiliency work that we're going to be doing under YP2LE, and how we can engage the communities of practice along the way as we're developing how to measure systems resiliency and look at how shocks and stressors can affect youth systems. We're very excited about having a communities of practice to engage that. And then some of our breakout room participants also talked about looking at how trauma and systems approaches can help us learn more about dealing with trauma and violence-based work with youth. And Robin, let me know if I got that wrong.
That sounds great. Thank you, Audrey. So we have at least one or two of the other groups that would be willing to come on and just give their top line feedback from the breakout.
Yeah, I can go next.
Thank you.
Okay, so hello everyone, this is Maimuna. I am the Youth Lead Arabic champion on the youthlead.org platform. In the group that I was in, we talked about how excited we were to learn and listen to each other about getting ideas about networks and income to the youth and youth systems, how we can implement our ideas and benefit from the resources that exist in the community practice. For the second question, we talked about how we want to look at the work provided by the community, and also how we can contribute by, providing more work and more resources to the community. And like we have, I think Christy said, we have like a youth system study or something like that. I think I got it wrong, but you can correct me, Christy. That,
Actually,
that study
Audrey
that
just mentioned it. Audrey just mentioned it. Yes.
exactly. Yeah, I thought so. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So, and also we talked about how we can lead people where they can find resources, and maybe we can link communities in our platform. We can exchange resources and can join forces. Also, we can learn more about youth systems and learn from different practitioners and organizations.
Great. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank Maimuna. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Cole.
And one of the other group, please.
Yes.
There we go.
Hi, my name is Wali Gomadioko. I'm an early childhood and primary educator from Nigeria. I volunteer for One African Child. So in my group, in the breakout session that we had, one of the major things we talked about was the sustainability of youth-led programs, system changes as well. So it's not just about, one of the things we talked about was not just being about making the change, but ensuring that youth are helped in a way that they know how to ensure that the continuity of the changes that they intend for people in their communities. Another thing that was mentioned, another key point that was highlighted was ensuring, fostering the communication and sort of the unison between people of different generations. So it's not just about youth. Yes, youth have many ideas, regarding things that they are facing at the present moment, but then the impacts, the contributions of, and the experiences of the older people can actually help them in knowing the ways they can ensure that the changes that they want to see actually happen, the implementation of such changes, and ensuring that they can easily pass the same thing down to people who are, to the upcoming generation as well, the upcoming youth as well. So in order to ensure that these changes do not just die out in the long run. Thank you. I hope I got that right.
Thank you. Do we have someone else?
Yes, Bonnie. My name is Amelia from South Africa, Pretoria, and I'm the founder of a reading club called Well of Wisdom. I'm passionate about young people and community development. So in the group that I was in, I had 4 ladies, Anu, Stephanie, Tanya, and Judith, and we had an exciting discussion. And I'm going to share just what we have learned. So regarding the first question, what excites us about joining this network is that we are all passionate about young people and youth development. And we are just excited how youth-centered design is going to be used in system approaches and how it connects to our vision of bringing about a positive change globally. And we are also excited about influencing a policy implementation that will accommodate the youth, because the youth are the future. And then regarding the second question of what we hope to learn or contribute to the systems change, we are looking forward to learning from one another as we have systems and processes that will mobilize youth into developing life-changing activities. And we want to assist the organization by coming with our experiences and what we have learned in the past, because we believe that whatever that we have learned can add a positive change in the organization as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Amelia. And all I'll say, just in, one thing you said, and we hear this a lot, that youth are our future. And I'll also just to say, youth are now. So that's part of our opportunity, struggle, that, and more, so the whole work around Youth Lead, everything is that youth are now. And we can't, yes, they're our future and they will be here after you're gone and I'm gone, but there'll be a new group of young people. But I think what we've been doing with positive youth development is also saying all this incredible strength and input and knowledge that we can have from young people themselves as we really think about transforming these systems.
Yes, thanks, Bunny.
Anyone else? I know there's info going up on the Padlet also, so thank you.
Hi, my name is LaDeja Lippincott, and my group, hi. So my group pretty much talked about like learning new best practices and understanding that the kids of today are not the same kids of tomorrow. So pretty much we want to make sure that we're growing as the kids are growing so that we can give them their best needs. And then we also talked about building youth engagement, because the more we have the youth active, the more that the kids are going to participate and the more that we can change the world through them. If that makes sense.
It absolutely makes sense. And I love you look very springy.
Thank you, thank you.
Yes, I know here in DC, I'm on the board of a group called DC Action. We do a lot of work around advocacy work, and we're getting actually more and more young people to be prepared and working with us and doing testimony in front of the city council, meeting with city council members in partnership with adult allies, but really hearing it from them, but prepping them in ways that they are really ready for the kinds of experience of that. But their voice is becoming stronger and more often heard. So I think that was probably the last little overview and debrief. Thank you so much, everyone. This has been really great. Again, we're going to be taking all of this, looking at it, coming up with, we'll talk about what our next meeting is, but I think you've given us a great beginning to think about how we might want to organize ourselves and begin to really dig into some of these issues that you've presented us with. So we were going to move on now to the next part, which is some approaches. We wanted to do some teasers. So Victoria.
Thank you, Bunny. I also want to say that we really want to gather all of your input. So Cole shared earlier the link to the Padlet in the chat function. Cole, if you don't mind sharing that again, if you'd like to, enter your responses. If you never got the chance to speak, that would be awesome. And for everyone who got the chance to present, thank you so much for perfectly capturing what was discussed in your group. One of the objectives that we want for this community of practice, that it will be a learning opportunity for us to get to share some of the things we are learning when it comes to systems change, but also to get to learn from you. So for this first kickoff, even though it's the very first, we wanted to share with you some of the concepts that we are learning in our work so far, and also to get to learn from you. So to the next slide. The first concept is appreciative inquiry. Some of you might have heard of it, or some of you this might be new to you, but in fact, you've been applying this to your work already. Appreciative inquiry simply means looking at what is working. How often do we focus on what's not working well? How often do we focus on our failures and mistakes in our work? And Bonnie said earlier that a failure can be something good, because that's often where you get to learn the most. Appreciative inquiry is the process of looking at the strengths within your organization, looking at the strengths within your team. What do you do well enough, and focusing on that, using that, capitalizing that to to scale your programs, to scale the processes of the work you do. We thought that this would be something interesting to share with you, and if you're interested, we would upload the slides on the Youth Lead website, so you can access it to learn more about what appreciative inquiry is about. So to the next slide. Asset-based community development is also another approach. It's otherwise known as ABCD. Asset-based community development is more focused on engagement at the community level or stakeholder engagement. And it's a process of identifying and mobilizing existing but often unrecognized assets. It's looking at the wealth of resources that already exist in the community that we work. It's looking internally. It's very similar to appreciative inquiry. While appreciative inquiry can be applied directly on the individual or organizational level, asset-based community development is functional or more useful when you look at the stakeholders or community you're trying to serve. Take, for example, this COP. If you're talking about strengthening youth systems, how do we do that without even bringing or including the voices of young people? So it's looking at what are we missing out? We need to include young people as important assets, resources, and we need to engage young people for their contribution. And same goes for the work you do as well. It could be doing things like evaluation, and rather than hiring an external expert to do evaluation, looking within to see if there are people within the community where you work who could do the evaluation, who could also even help you cut costs and save resources that you otherwise would have spent more on. These are some concepts that we are learning about. We wanted to share them with you. You might already know them, but you could also share in the chat function if you'd like some of the things that you're learning about that you want others to know about as well. And I'll pass on to Bunny to share a little bit more with you.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Victoria. Wanted to share a little bit about a group that I've been involved with for the last several years. My colleague Claire Ignatowski and I, many years ago, after traveling and doing a lot of work on Equip 3 when she was working at USAID and I was at FHI 360 and Creative Associates International, we began to really talk a lot about systems on our trips and about how, we didn't want the next generation of development workers to be coming and doing some of the same work we were doing when we knew that the issue was really that the systems needed to change. So we started to talk to people and we actually helped to create together with many other people what we're calling the Youth Systems Collaborative. And it's a network of international organizations, and we're trying to learn more about systems change that improve life outcomes for young people across low and middle income countries. We meet regularly, we share information, we've done some case studies, there's been a paper written, a journal article that's been written by a subset of some of the members, and we include in this work, the Aspen Institute, Creative Associates International, EDC, Save the Children, the International Youth Foundation, Catholic Relief Services, RTI, and FHI 360. So those are the groups that have been coming together regularly so we could learn from each other. And we hope to be connected to this youth system strengthening work to both be listening, but also engaging and bringing some of the work around this framework, which we've developed over time. And I think Audrey mentioned that they may be using through Mathematica and with YP2LE, and looking at the issues of, we've come to that resource flows, policy, services and practices, and norms and mindsets. So this is a little bit of some new language, but we feel that these are things we've been learning over time that we need to be focusing on to understand, how systems can really change over time. And certainly embedded as that is the stakeholder collaboration at the core. And that stakeholder collaboration is very broad at times. Business leaders, government leaders, community members, young people, the media. There's so many different aspects about how people think they understand what's going on in systems, but what we really need to grow and understand more from lots of different voices coming in. So we just wanted to share, we'll be learning and focusing on this a little bit more, but this is certainly a framework that we've been using and hopefully we'll be utilizing more, and you'll be hearing a little bit more about that over time in our other meetings. So next. So we put up a couple of, if they're not up already, they will be up on the site very quickly after this, just to get some people thinking and reading about what we're talking about. There's 2 articles. One is about a systems approach to conflict prevention, and then the water of systems change, which is a good sort of basic piece that's been put out by this group FSG that's been working with a lot of the efforts around collective impact, which is another approach we might spend some time looking at some of the approaches and the underlying work like that Victoria was talking about ABCD and systems design. What do these mean? How are they being used? What's been learned from using them in different countries? So those are a couple of resources for you all to begin looking at. And next. So yes, we wanted to talk about next steps, and we hope that you will register on youthpower.org, that you will join, if you haven't already, the Youth Systems Strengthening COP. On there, you can introduce yourself. There are discussions, you can respond to discussions, but you can also consider starting discussions that other people can have input on, and that will help us also define the agendas. We do have a next meeting set for this time. On May 6th, we're going to try and aim for the first Thursday of each month after that. Victoria, did I get all that?
You did. Thanks, Bunny. And I see that we still have a couple of meetings until 10:30. So do we want to use that time to facilitate more discussion, for example, to see how people would like to be engaged for the future meetings that we would have?
Yes. So if anybody wants to unmute, also Cole, yes. Cole, did you want to say something about this?
Yes, I just wanted to say for everyone who is joining today who has not yet become a member of Youth Power, that is the first step in accessing and engaging on the platform and with the COP. So as Bonnie and Victoria have been putting out some great, awesome resources in the webinar today, those will all be posted onto the discussion board or the COP board. So please, please, please go online and register, create your profile, as that's where the main discussions will be taking place. So I just wanted a quick reminder that that's the first step in the process to kind of joining the COP. So I'll go ahead and turn it back over to you guys. Thank you.
Thanks. So, no, there is no membership fee. There is no membership fee. This is free.
Completely free.
So does anybody have, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I see a comment from Lisa. She said that there's a training on systems mapping. Do you want to speak more to that, Lisa?
Exactly what I was going to ask. Thank you.
Sure, I'll unmute. I would just suggest that.
Could you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Lisa Loxman. I'm here in Washington, D.C. I'm a consultant, a PYD consultant, youth engagement. I was just involved with systems mapping training that was conducted by YouthPower Learning. So I was thinking that perhaps it might be something that with a youth systems approach, we consider using that as a tool to delve deeper into the conversations. And that might be something that people then could take back and that we actually practice systems thinking as a youth systems approach.
That's a wonderful idea.
Yeah.
Bonnie, I can jump in there very quickly.
Yes.
TKI offered that as part of the launch of the new COPs in the network. So we're really happy to connect up on what the training was. And Katie, who was part of offering that, has joined today for this COP kickoff. So we can just connect the dots there.
That's great. I mean, and one of the things we want to do is say, you know, there's some opportunities across the communities of practice. I don't know if some of you may have sat in on the higher education kickoff that happened earlier this week, but there certainly was a lot of discussion about systems, the higher education systems. So there may be some opportunities to think about how we might want to do some cross-fertilization. And yes, there's a question about, can someone that is not working with any youth organization join? Absolutely. We'd love to have politicians, business leaders, you know, I mean, to change systems, it's more than just those of us who truly are believers and understand and work every day of our lives. around positive youth development, we need some of these other folks with us.
Right. I also want to add that I see different organizations and networks here. Someone from IREX, International Youth Foundation, KPI, One African Child, and so on. This is an opportunity, to facilitate collaboration, to also promote the event and the work that you're doing, to shine more light on the work that you're doing. We also want to learn from your practices as well. So just want to emphasize that if you haven't already registered on the YouthPower website, please do so that we can, stay in touch with you.
Absolutely. Well, I think
It also looks like we have a question from Nancy as well, ensuring relevance according to different communities. I think that's an interesting point to bring up as we approach.
Nancy, you want to say a little bit about that?
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hi. So I'm from Kenya, a member of One African Child, and this is just a great opportunity, and I'm glad to be part of it. So I just was wondering if there is a way where you ensure community relevance, in that we are all in different areas, we come from different places, so the issues affecting us might not be the same. So while conducting these trainings, while having these meetings, how do we ensure relevance across all these communities?
Okay, I understand more. Thank you. Something we need to keep at the top of our agenda. Yes. And let us know if we are successful or not. So we don't want to get to the end of this and say, oh, they never did that. So we hope that you will, be open, honest, let us know, about if we do a training, whether it didn't meet the mark or whether it did. It's always good to hear positive, but, and also if we're thinking about things, we may be doing it with some of you so that we can make sure that we're, reaching, making sure it's accessible to lots of different audiences.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Anyone else? We're very excited to hear your voices, see your faces, and we will definitely be getting back soon with the agenda for the next meeting. I think there was one other little, is there a little chat? Do you accept people who once messed up in life, have the potential and are ready to learn from mistakes? Absolutely. No,
this is right for you.
We've all been there.
Right.
We've all been there. So yes. Okay. Well, Cole, I think we're done. Unless and please go to the discussion group, join the community of practice, put up some other resources, ask questions. We're excited to connect.
And I just wanted to extend thank you to both Victoria and Bonnie, and actually all of you who joined us today for this kickoff. It's been a wonderful few weeks pulling this all together, and we're really excited to get this thing launched, and looking forward to some great discussions. So thank you guys so much. Look for resources posted along with this actual webinar and the slides in case you have any questions or want to revisit any of that information. That should be up later this week, latest probably next week. So thank you so much, guys. Wonderful to see all your faces. So
have a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are.
It was nice to meet everybody.
Nice to meet you. Great to see you all.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.